Kids serve as a permanent reminder of what's important. They also keep me humble. You can walk into a room like this where people cheer when you step onto the stage, and you might think for a second that you're kind of special. Then you go home and your kids remind you very quickly you're actually not that big of a deal. And ours are pretty good at it. So my kids keep me humble. Unfortunately, Kamala Harris doesn't have anything keeping her humble.
That is who she is. That was Sarah Huckabee Sanders displaying the casual ugliness of the attacks on Vice President Kamala Harris, which frankly never ceased to take your breath away. She's the governor of Arkansas now, and she used her platform, privilege of being an elected official, to attack not just Vice President Kamala Harris as not being humble, but to say that the reason she's not humble is because she didn't give birth, that she doesn't have biological children. Despite the fact that she is a parent, she's a parent to Cole and Ella Emhoff. Just ask them. Now, that kind of casual cruelty is a hallmark. It's what you would expect from Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who has championed repealing child labor protections as the governor of Arkansas, who has defended Trump's family separation policy as, quote, very biblical, whatever very means in that context, when she was the White House press secretary. But it also reflects a broader brand of cruelty of the Republican Party, which seems intent on alienating voters with modern families or blended families or people without children and all those childless cat ladies in pursuit of levying these attacks at Vice President Harris. Doug Emhoff's ex-wife, Kirsten Emhoff, leapt to the defense of the vice president, the woman Kirsten calls her co-parent. She wrote this on social media, quote, Cole and Ella keep us inspired to make the world a better place. I do it through storytelling. Kamala Harris has spent her entire career working for the people, all families. That keeps you pretty humble. Joining our conversation, former Assistant U.S. Attorney and President of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, Maya Wiley. Also joining us, host of the Fast Politics podcast, special correspondent for Vanity Fair, Molly Jong-Fast is here. So a line has to be drawn around picking and choosing which families are the right families. And this attack on modern families, which I think make up the majority of the families that people are in or have made, it must be working somewhere for someone, but you would think those are the kind of voters that would have locked up by now. This is a sign of political desperation to me.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Nicole, because I find this so offensive. If you can't confront your opposing candidate on policy, you attack them personally. And you attack a woman like Kamala Harris. And I'm going to tell you a personal story of when I first had contact with Kamala Harris as a sitting senator. I was a professor at the New School. I was a senior vice president there. And I had been asked by the New School to deliver the convocation to the entering first-year class. And I did so. And my convocation speech was about how we be a we and not an us-them. Mm-hmm. I come off the stage and I get a text. And the text is from Senator Kamala Harris, who I have not met. I know her sister well, so I assume that's how she got my cell phone number. And she said, that was fantastic. That was a great job. She was there for her stepchild's first day of college. Tell me what a parent is. And I will tell you it's the person who shows up because it's the right thing to do for the person you want to support, whether you gave birth to that child or not. It's the person who says, you know, I'm going to care and understand, even if I have not had a child biologically, that child care costs are a top expense that families are facing. And you know what? If you're a child care provider, you're probably earning $27,000 a year. And in most major cities, that's your rent. and you're probably a mother yourself, and saying, what can I do as a leader about that? And she didn't have to have biological children to do it. And to your point, so many of us have people we love who we did not give birth to as women, who we care about, and who we will show up for and we will vote for. And that includes the young women we hope can live and survive an unexpected pregnancy and make a choice for themselves. And if they've sewn up a Christian nationalist extremist base, so if you can't come up with a way to express compassion for others, all you can do is cling to your extremism.
And, you know, to that point, it is a line that runs through it, right? And sometimes they don't seem connected, but J.D. Vance saying in an interview that women should stay in marriages even if they're violent. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders saying that Kamala Harris couldn't be humble because she doesn't have kids. She does have kids. They're a piece. And at some point, it stops being about their ugliness, and it stops being about them, and it becomes about us. This isn't just offensive to women who hear that and view it as some deliberate attempt at otherness. It's offensive to men. It's offensive to anyone. It's offensive to a step kid. I mean, it is the kind of intolerance that at some point stops being about MAGA and starts being about the rest of us. And what are we going to do in response?
Yeah, I mean, I would also say it's this very narrow vision of what a woman is, right? Of what you can be in this world, right? You have to have biological children. And that, I think, is very anti-feminist, right? That you have to be a certain way in order to be a woman. I would also add that it's a little bit ironic because this is the party that's made it less safe to be pregnant, that refuses to codify IVF, that, refuses, I mean, these, they're against sort of like the care economy, which Harris talks so much about, right? They are not for early childhood stuff. They've, a lot of these Republican governors have rejected federal funding for, meals for school kids. So they really are very, I mean, I'm not going to call the entire party this, but it certainly seems very anti-family. And yet you're telling us that for women to be women, they must have biological children.
It's unbelievable.